right, with that, our next speaker is Kyle Murphy, who's already had the stage before, so I won't reintroduce him, but he's going to go deeper into the topic that Matt started on day one, into risk insights with artificial intelligence. Kyle.
All right. Can everyone hear me all right? All right, great. I was going to start this out with a joke, but Jason kind of stole my thunder yesterday, so I got nothing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I think, over the last almost 2 days, it's been pretty prevalent and obvious that one of the focuses that is around over the last couple years and will continue to be over the next few years is data, right? How much have we talked about data? A lot. And so now that we have all of this data, now we're going to talk about what we can do with it, right? And I'm very excited to share with you all of the work that we've done really over the last 4 years around artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's what I'm going to be talking about to you today. Yesterday we had a great panel with Johannes and Justin, and we talked a lot about AI in general, how it applies to our everyday lives, a little bit how it applies to our industry. But the next 45 minutes in this presentation, we're really going to dive into how it applies to the work that we do and why it's important to us, right? So last thing before we get in, there will be a quiz or some trivia questions. So be sure to pay attention. We actually have some prizes for folks who get all of the answers right. And I am going to ask you to write down the answers, so make sure you got some paper or pen near you. So we'll get right into it. Earth AI Insights, what we're focused around over the last 4 years is incident prediction, which is really, I kind of see that as the holy grail of AI in our industry, right? How can we predict incidents before they occur? As a little bit of background, at Irth, we increase safety and save you money by empowering you to predict incidents before they occur. What's really important in these predictions and the work that we've done in AI thus far is we really wanted to make these predictions easy to get, right? There's no point in doing all of this work if it's difficult to get to these predictions. And so you'll see that we put a lot of effort into that over the last few years. Also, we want to be able to explain those predictions. We mentioned yesterday, interpretability, explainability. We do not have a black box, right? You're not just sending in data and getting out data and you don't know why. So we have the ability now to explain these predictions and what is contributing or not contributing to risk. And finally, at Irth, we have a very skilled team of data scientists, engineers, and analysts with decades of experience in AI and machine learning. So the foundation of any predictive, machine learning system is really twofold. You have to have really, really great data, and you have to have a lot of it. The second is you have to know how to leverage that data and ML in order to make these predictions as accurate as you possibly can. So at Irth, we now have all of this, a huge data catalog. We have damage prevention data from DigTix and Utilisphere. We have call center data from Exactix, training and competency data from our learning management software, Corsetra. And at Irth, we also have partners at Boston Geospatial that provide slope, fire, and seismic data. We have our partners at IBM and IBM Research with weather and methane data. And finally, as of just a few months ago with our acquisition of GeoAmps, we have right-of-way data. So the takeaway here is our market-leading data catalog produces market-leading predictions. A little bit of timeline on how we got here. In 2019, we assembled the data science team. That was actually done at Apex before Apex was acquired by 4IQ Solutions. In 2020, we launched the first version, kind of a beta of what was called DigSights at the time, alongside DigTix. In 2021, DigSights was acquired by 4IQ Solutions, and DigSights version 1.0 production was launched. Last year, DigSights was acquired by Irth and rolled up into Irth's AI Insights. And just this year, Irth AI Insights version 1.1 was launched. In fact, this was just done last Friday. So I'm very excited to share with you that we have a new release to share with you today. So as of Friday, we have AI Insights 1.1. And this release has two major components. We have those risk factors for interpretability, that explainability model. It's not a black box anymore. So we have the ability to tell you why jobs are risky or not risky. Also, we have incident impact prediction. So you're going to see there's two components of risk. There's likelihood and impact, right? So not only do we have the ability to predict incidents before they occur, but we have the ability to predict if an incident does occur, what is that impact going to be like? So we've used data to train these ML models, and that data includes excavator downtime costs, repair costs, outage duration, number of affected customers, media coverage, third-party property damage, and even injuries and casualties. So I'd like to next go into a little bit about our approach, what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. I mentioned just a little bit ago that there's two components to risk. There's likelihood and impact. Matt touched on this a little bit yesterday in his first presentation. Again, this is how leading organizations quantify risk, including the Department of Defense, NASA, insurance companies, right? And so as of AI Insights version 1.1 release, we have the ability to predict not only the likelihood of an incident occurring before it occurs, but also what the impact of that incident would be if one does occur. We use state-of-the-art AI on large data sets of highly relevant data, right? This data lends itself so well to these predictions that we have. We have also national and targeted models. I'll get into this a little bit more in a couple slides, but really what it comes down to is we started with a national model or a North America model that pooled a lot of data together to create these predictive models. What we found through some of our studies is that the game isn't the same everywhere, right? In Florida, predicting incidents is very different than predicting incidents in Minnesota or New York or California, right? So we took that into consideration through some of our findings to create these targeted models based on where these excavations and incidents might be occurring. Takeaway here is Irth quantifies and predicts risk using proven methods. Now, we have these really great predictive models, but how do we make sure that they stay predictive and stay relevant? So I'd like to introduce the concept of drift. Drift is a systematic degradation of predictive models over time. Usually, it happens very gradually, right? So you train these models, and over the course of quarters or years, it starts to not be as performant when it comes to predicting the future. So what's important here is monitoring that drift. And we have a lot of systems that do this. The screenshot here on the right shows a particular aspect of our predictions when explosives are involved in the excavation or blasting is involved in the excavation. And so every day we're able to monitor this and see, is this still a predictive factor? Or is it becoming less predictive over time or more predictive? And we're able to review this to determine when we need to retrain our models or if there are some external contributing factors that are impacting our predictions, right? And this allows us as Irth AI Insights to remain the leader in risk prediction over time. Now, here's just a quick trend. We can see a lot of our models, and this displays essentially how accurate they are. You'll see these little upticks in the trend lines, and that represents very small degradation of our predictions over time. that's typically what we see. Drift can occur because of changes in the world, right? We live in an ever-changing world, and so you'll have things like a new law that goes into place, say in New York for excavator training program. That would introduce drift. It changes the game. It changes how we should be doing these predictions. You know, one of the things that really threw a lot of models, a lot of predictive models upside down was COVID, right? COVID changed everything. As a quick example, you know, I think everybody here is familiar with targeted advertisements, right? You see them everywhere on the internet and whatnot. And, you know, I'm sitting there in April of 2020, and I see these advertisements saying, you should take a cruise this summer. And nobody's doing anything. I don't want to get on a cruise ship with a bunch of sick people and come back with COVID, right? This is just after all the lockdown stuff occurred, and I thought, well, that's crazy. You know, these predictions are not relevant anymore. If they knew what I wanted, it was toilet paper and hand sanitizer, right, at the time. Nobody could find those things. Nobody was advertising them to me either. So if they had models over, you know, post-COVID, that's probably what they would have been advertising. So that's just a quick example of a very significant drift event, right? Finally, how we deliver these predictions is paramount. You know, like I mentioned before, we don't want to make these predictions hard to get to. We want to make them available for as many people as we possibly can and as easily consumable as we possibly can. So, you know, our DigSights API, or sorry, Earth AI Insights API is hosted on AWS via RESTful API. It's highly scalable, uses a lot of the you know, latest serverless architecture for highly scalable, highly available performance. And it is optimized for performance. A lot of predictions can take minutes, right? What we're talking about here to get these predictions is 6.4 seconds on average. So these are not predictions that you want to wait for and that you have to wait for, because when these emergency locate requests come in, right, they have a 2-hour turnaround time. Well, if you're sitting there waiting 30 minutes for your predictions to come back before you decide whether or not to do something, you've already eaten into almost half of your you know, response time, right? So 6.4 seconds on average to get these predictions. Now, another great thing is that this is an API. It is not required for you to use Utilisphere or DigTix to get these predictions. In fact, we have call centers that are using these predictions. One of the more notable ones is Texas 811, who uses DigSights to score all of their, you know, their outbound tickets before they distribute them to their risk members. So again, we do have native integrations for Utilisphere and DigTix, or if, you know, I think a lot of you are using one of those systems. So we do have those integrations there, but they're not required. Anybody can sign up for DigSights, no matter if you're an Earth customer today or not. Finally, it's very easy to integrate with. This is just a quick example of how easy, with just a few lines of code, I want to say less than a dozen, you can query DigSights and get these predictions back for integration into any of your organization systems. So a couple quick interesting results that we have in our studies. Last year, we did a study to determine how seasonality and climate impact these incident predictions. We found some pretty interesting things. We found that seasonality is very impactful on predictive performance. And that's the reason why we have a North America model as well as many state-based models, because as we all know, there's a lot of seasonality in Maine and New York and Minnesota and Ohio, but not so much in Texas, right? And so it's very important that we account for that in our modeling. Another interesting thing that we found was that variations in temperature from the average is not very impactful for high seasonality states, such as, you know, Ohio or Maine. But for states with low seasonality, like Texas, variations of temperature from the average are very impactful and should be accounted for in these predictions. Takeaway here is that Earth's data science team is constantly improving our predictive models. So I want to share with you a few interesting things that we've found in our process of training these machine learning models. So I'm going to do a little risk factor trivia and see if you all can guess what we've found, right? So if you have, I will say, we have Yeti tumblers. There's 4 questions that I'm about to ask you. If you can answer all 4 of them correctly, we'll mail you a Yeti tumbler. So good luck. We'll start maybe with an easy one. It's around directional boring. So in North America, do locate requests that indicate directional boring have a higher or lower chance of resulting in an incident? So write down your answer real quick. You have a 50-50 shot, right? Yes or no? So I'll give everyone just a few more seconds. All right, answer is a higher chance. Probably kind of obvious, right? I've had that hunch for a while, but it's nice to see it in the data. Now I have a bonus question. How much more likely is an incident if a locate request indicates directional boring? Now, if you get this correct, then I will stop this presentation now, and we're going to hit the blackjack tables. The answer is 61.73% more likely. So not only are we predicting things qualitatively, we know exactly how much more risk it introduces, so quantitatively as well. And that's the power of the data science that we do. All right, question number 2. Breaking ground by month in Florida. So this is in Florida only. Locate requests which are scheduled to begin digging in what month are the most likely to result in an incident? So you got a 1 in 12 chance here if you're just guessing. All right, write it down. Give you just a few more seconds. Answer, January. And you see here the breakdown of share of incidents that occur based on the month of the start work time. Question number 3. Now, keep answering. Even if you got that one wrong, keep answering. Breaking ground by day of week in Texas. So in Texas, locate requests which are scheduled to begin digging on what day of the week are most likely to result in an incident. So you got a 1 in 7 chance. Get your answers down. Sunday. And it's not even close. Saturday's a distant second. Everything else is more or less in line. All right, those were kind of difficult. We'll end it on an easy one. White lining, also known as pre-marking. This is the last question. In North America, this is all of North America, do locate requests that indicate pre-excavation white lining have a higher or lower chance of resulting in an incident? 50-50 shot. Answer? A higher chance. Now let me explain a little bit. But before that, how much more likely is an incident? 89.76%. Now, that's kind of surprising, right? How many of you thought that it would be lower? I would too. I would too. But here's our theory, which we've been investigating. an issue of causality. It's an issue of correlation, right? Locate requests which the excavator takes the time to whiteline are more complex in nature. How many times do you see homeowners that whiteline before excavation? Those typically are the more easy and simple ones, right? So it's not, just to be clear, we don't believe that it's the act of whitelining that causes more risk to be introduced. We believe that because it's being whitelined, it's already a riskier ticket and therefore should be treated accordingly.
We had two incidents though where low man total most given white can white line longer.
Yep, that's another theory. Yep. So there's some interesting results, right? And I will say, we haven't tested these hypotheses, and the one that you mentioned. These are all just what we think, but the data shows conclusively that this is true. And I should say that this is based on tens of millions of locate requests and tens of thousands of incidents. So at Irth, we use mountains of data and a team of dedicated professionals to uncover unlikely associations to help make informed decisions. So how did you do? If you got one right, raise your hand. I hope everyone's hands up. All right, if you got two, keep your hand up. If you got three, keep your hand up. If you got all four correct, anybody? All right, marketing team, you don't have to mail out any tumblers. So, with all of these insights that we have, and by the way, those are just 4 of the insights. We have tens of thousands of insights that we've found through our machine learning process. With all of these, just how good is Irth AI Insights? So we did a predictive performance pilot, and we went head-to-head with a competitor. It was a Midwest gas and electric company. It piloted both Irth AI Insights and a competitor who also predicts incident risk. Something that's very important to understand here is that no intervention occurred during the pilot, meaning if there was a high-risk ticket, this gas and electric company did not intervene, right? They didn't go out and do a watch and protect or an audit or anything like that, right? That's important to know because it provides a level playing field. Because as soon as you do an audit or a watch and protect or anything like that, you change the outcome, right? Hopefully you do. So as soon as you do a watch protect, you can't really answer the question, if I didn't do that watch or protect, would an incident have occurred? And so we did this, and it was about roughly 100,000 locate requests that were scored, and right around 100 incidents that occurred during this pilot. So I'd like to share with you the results. Now, what are we looking at here? This is called a cumulative gains curve. This is how we judge and grade the performance of our ML models, right? So I want to explain this just a little bit to you here because it's very important. On the x-axis, what we have down here are all your locate requests. So you have all 100,000 locate requests on the bottom, on the x-axis. On the y-axis, these are the incidents that occurred. And so just to be clear, on the bottom, on the x-axis, these locate requests, these are ordered from the highest scored tickets to the lowest scored tickets, right? So on the left-hand side, you have the highest scored ticket, and then the second highest scored ticket, the third, the fourth, the fifth, all the way down to the bottom, where on the rightmost, you have the lowest scored tickets, right? And then on the y-axis is the incidents as they occur. So there's 3 trend lines here. The first one is the gray one. It's just a diagonal line. That's what you get when you have no prediction, right? And it makes sense. If you look at it, if you take 25% of your locate requests at random, you'll have 25% of your incidents that occur in those, right? It's just a random sample. If you take 50% of your locate requests, you'll have 50% of your incidents occur in those locate requests. And then we see the other 2 trend lines, the orange being the competitor and the blue being Irth AI Insights. So Irth AI Insights isolated half of all incidents that occurred and predicted half of all incidents that occurred in almost 10% less locate requests than the competitor. So what that looks like here, if you take that red line, that's at the 50% incident line, right? And you look at where those 2 trend lines go, and you see that Irth AI Insights in this particular pilot predicted half of all incidents in less than 14% of locate requests. And the competitor did 23.6, so almost a quarter. On the flip side, we have low risk. So if you look up towards the top right here, we look at 95% of the incidents that occurred. So above that line, you have 5% of the incidents that occurred. And we can isolate 5% of the incidents that occur in about 32% of locate requests, right? So not only is it great at identifying which tickets are, or predicting what locate requests are going to result in an incident, it's also great at predicting which ones will not result in an incident. And we can do that 11.21% better than the competitor. Does that make sense? Are there any questions on this chart? Yeah.
Just curious, between the 2 companies, they both have the same inputs into their algorithm? So everything across the board was the same?
It was the raw locate request.
Prescriptive.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more what that means by being able to predict at 13% versus being able to predict at 23%?
Yeah.
Business outcome then?
Yeah, so that's a great point. So essentially what that means is if there's 100,000 locate requests that we scored here, in about 13,000 of those 14,000 of those locate requests are going to result in half of your incidents, right? So about 50 of those incidents are going to be reside in those 14,000 locate requests. Does that answer your question? And the competition, you would have to intervene on 23,500 locate requests in order to hopefully prevent half of your incidents, right? So that's a difference of about 10,000 locate requests that you wouldn't have to visit or intervene on, rather. Sorry, not visit, intervene on. So Irth AI Insights predicted which locate requests will result in an incident 28% better than the competitor. That's the difference between these 2 trend lines. So the green area here is where Irth AI Insights outperform the competitor. This is a huge result. Typically in AI and machine learning, if you can get predictions that are 1 or 2% better, you're talking, I mean, it's a big deal, right? If we could predict stock prices 1 or 2% better than the competitor, I wouldn't be here right now. But we're talking 28%. That's huge. Now, one last thing I want to say. we have here almost 2/3 or 1/3 of your locate requests. If you're looking at this right, I want to make sure not to fall off here. If you're looking to the right of this blue line here, what if you took the resources that you would otherwise spend on those 33,000 locate requests and took those resources and you put them in the locate requests on the left, right? You would take a hit of 5% of your incidents, but you would be able to prevent, hopefully, over half of your incidents, right? Assuming that you had an impactful intervention strategy, right? So when Sam says, 50% in 5 years, right? I mean, this is the path. This is part of that path, right? This is the roadmap to accomplishing that in 5 years. It's not just this, obviously, but this is such a big part of how we can get there. So, coming soon. We're not done. So in Q1 of next year, we're going to be introducing daily model retraining. I mentioned here that we monitor drift, and that tells us when we need to retrain our models. We currently have a project that's going on that will automatically retrain all of our models every day. What that means is if an incident occurs today, by the time you come in tomorrow for work, DigSights will have learned from that. Or sorry, Irth AI Insights will have learned from that. I should take a drink every time I say DigSights, right? Old habits die hard. And so it will continuously be learning based on immediate events, right? In Q2 2024, we're going to release interactive BI visualizations and dashboards. Some of the charts that I showed you when we did our trivia, we have hundreds of those, and we're developing more. And these dashboards will be made available to DigSights subscribers at the national level, so you can see national trends, at the state level, so you can see trends in your particular area, and then also potentially at the company level. And that would require you to submit your company incident data for a model training specifically on your data, but you would be able to see your company trends as well. And these are all in interactive BI dashboards. And then in Q4 2024, one of the things that I wanted to mention yesterday that I failed to was prescriptive insights. So what we've been talking about this far are predictive insights, right? It predicts the future, but we can take it a step further. We can do prescriptive insights. When you go to the doctor and you get sick, the doctor doesn't just say, you got an infection, see you later, right? He tells you what to do to fix it. He says, take this amoxicillin, take this whatever, right? Do this, do that. So what we're going to be focused on in 2024 is not only telling you what locate requests or excavations have the highest likelihood or impact of an incident, we're going to tell you how to mitigate that, how to ensure that those incidents don't happen. And then finally, generative AI as well. So I want to give you, we are investing heavily in AI in our data science team, and we can't wait to show you some of the things that come. I can't wait to be up here, hopefully next year, and let you guys know all the cool things that we're about to do. Finally, just a real example of generative AI. This is a real example where we took the results from our AI API, and fed them into a large language model. And it provides a very natural language result, right? So it's not these long numbers or data that's indecipherable sometimes, right? We put it in natural language. And so this is a real example of a locate request and the risk factors that were identified. So with that, I'd like to open it up for Q&A. Yep.
So you said, where does the data live if I, like for you to get insights can go into anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do we need, like, somewhere for the data to live? Do you connect directly to the one call center data? Like, how does that happen?
So when, let's say you wanted to, Kevin, it sounds like you have some data that you want to inspect.
Yeah.
So what we would do is we would work with you to get us that data. We would upload it to a secure FTP site. We would request a certain format, and then we would be able to train those models. Does that answer your question? Okay. What's that? Oh, okay. So if you're talking about training, model training, that's how I answer your question just now. If you're talking about how do you consume the data, these predictions, so it's a RESTful API, and you would have an API key that's given to you, right? So we know, so you have access to this API. You would then be able to call the API. The input to our API is the raw locate request, and that's it. We don't need any other data from you other than that raw locate request. And then it returns back the predictions in an average of 6.4 seconds.
Have you thought about adding outside of, like, could the model factor in other components?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like or set.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we haven't gotten there yet, but that is data that we have available, and we're in the process of de-siloing. Yeah. Also, things like weather, things like high consequence areas for your organization specifically, right? Those are all data sets that would enhance the predictions. But all of the results that I've shown up here are locate request, the raw locate request alone, which is kind of, it's kind of scary, like how well we can do with just that.
So not even related to an owner operator's facility?
Correct. Yep. Now, obviously, we can get better predictions if we have that information, but. Yep,
You're also looking at impact as well.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions?
Kyle, just to review, you did say weather did not have an impact typically? Or
Climate. Certain aspects of climate, right? So particularly, we did a study on precipitation, and it came inconclusive. Now, weather, on the other hand, is different, obviously, than climate, and that's something that we are actively looking at as well.
I mean, our location request volume definitely fluctuates based on the weather, rain, those kind of things. Like, and so it's just interesting if it impacts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we are very confident that it does, and that's why we've done some POCs, so we're going to really invest heavily in it. Yeah.
You're saying that the risk score is both the frequency and the consequence, right? The impact.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to just look at one versus the other and say you don't have the resources to go after that top 10% or whatever, which obviously the higher risk score. Let's say you Is that an available option to look at just those?
Absolutely. So you do have the predictions are separate, right? So you have a prediction for the likelihood, and then you also have prediction for the impact. And so it really comes down to, how you want to prioritize it, right? So if there's something that's very low probability but extremely high impact, you may still want to intervene on that, right? Or vice versa. If it's a very low impact but very high probability, you may also want to do it. I think everyone would agree if it's a high probability and high impact, you definitely want to do it, right? But
I was thinking back to just your charts, the two different axes. You want to kind of target those top ones because they might not be the highest frequency, but still higher consequence. So you can kind of narrow in on those top averages.
correct. And that chart was for likelihood only. So it didn't account for impact, right? So that is definitely, the impact is definitely something you would want to consider as well. Yeah. Other questions? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.